December 2021. Our invocation be led by Reverend Towers, the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Beebe, and the Texas Pledge by Mr. Hollinger.
Join me as we pray. Father in heaven and earth, creator of all things, thank you for creating life for each of us, an opportunity to exercise that life in a way that honors others. Thank you for the season that we celebrate. Remind us to be kind to one another. I pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Beebe?
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Amen. We have a quorum present, and this meeting is being recorded. Members of the public may access the meeting through the Central Texas College website. First item on the agenda is consider approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees held on November 30th, 2021.
Will they be approved?
Second.
The motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes as published. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the chairman's update, an opportunity for members of the public to suggest additional topics for discussion or to address topics of interest with permission of the presentation limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone present who would like to address the board? And seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the chancellor's report.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Knopfler?
I have put a copy of this invitation as a reminder for each of you that on Thursday is our graduation for the Ford Technicians of Tomorrow course. So anyway, if you can attend that, appreciate it. It's 10 o'clock. I had Debbie put a copy. You put a copy in there, Debbie, correct? Yeah. So that. A couple of items I wanted to share with you. We've been, as we talked over the months and years, and looking at programs and having a deep dive into our programs of instruction and where they're going and what we should be doing and relative to funding from the state, relative to attendance, if you will, enrollment in those programs, keeping up with those programs we should scuttle if we need to, those that we should keep. As far as the administration is concerned right now, we need to hold fast with what we have because there's lots of changes going on, and I want to share some of those with you. It started with the SACS, Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. We just had our annual meeting, and the first week of December we also had our board meeting. And as a trustee on the board, I can tell you that one of the things that got people into trouble was trying to terminate programs quickly without giving it the benefit of going through and having a teach-out plan and having all those things done. And something that takes 6 months to a year to do those. So, but all of our programs are being looked at daily. The other one is that we are involved in and I am with the second year of the Formula Advisory Committee for the state of Texas for community colleges, and there are about 10 of us on that committee that's appointed by the commissioner. And we take a look at how the funding is rolled out from the state. It really never grows very much. There's always this pot of money. And so what happens is, with all the changes that are going on with whether you get your funding from seat-based or whether you get your funding from success points or or core, it really doesn't change the total pot. They just kind of shift it around. And the problem with some of that is if they shift it to areas where we don't have occupations that we're teaching, we don't get any of the dollars. So one of the things we're trying to hold on to is the programs we have. There's been a commission formed, and it has had 2 meetings. One was yesterday. It's called the Commission on Community College Finance. And that was put together because of this issue with the community colleges not getting enough dollars this past legislative session to replenish what was happening in our classrooms, getting us up to with the technology to where we need to be so our students could leave these programs and go and step right into work and not have any downtime. And so one of the things that the universities do, they lobby every year multiple times for additional money for research, and they get it. We don't have research. We didn't lobby that way, and so I suggested we've got to lobby for the technology that we need in our classrooms. And so this commission was put together, and Harrison Keller is the preceding officer over that. But let me give you some names. Woody Hunt is the chairman of that committee. He's Hunt Companies, has him. Honorable Brandon Creighton, Texas Senate. And then I think we have 6. Let's see, there's at least 4. Dr. Mark Escamilla, College President Del Mar. Dr. Stephen Head, Chancellor at Lone Star College. Dr. Brenda Hellier, Chancellor of San Jacinto. Dr. Brenda Kays, President of Kilgore College. Brian Jones, Professor of Learning, Odessa College. Honorable Oscar Longoria, Texas House of Representatives. Carol Scott, Chair, Del Mar Board of Regents. Honorable Larry Taylor, Texas Senate. Honorable Gary Van Dever, Texas House of Representatives. Todd Williams, CEO of the Commit Partnership. So you can see there are some folks that are pretty heavy on that. And one of the things that we're doing is we are looking at what the woes are for the community colleges. And so far, all the discussion has been around the things that we know here. And that is that we have 3 legs for our funding. One is taxes, one is tuition, and one is state appropriations. All the colleges receive about 24% of 50 colleges from the state, for state appropriations. The differences are tuition, which they're keeping low, but then they have taxes, and their tax base is much different. For example, Dallas, their tax base is like $345 million a year. That's huge. We don't get that kind of tax money. And so we have to increase our tuition. And then we have to offset all of that because we don't have enough. We have to get grants and contracts and those kind of things to help support us, where some of the other schools don't. And they stay small, or if they grow because of their tax base. So all of those things are going on right now, just so you will know as board members. Those things go on daily and weekly and monthly and yearly. And so being a member of the Formula Advisory Committee, we had 5 charges this year from the coordinating board. And I'll quickly tell you what those were or are. Let's see. I marked it here. Okay. Charge 1, and not, but charge 1. Study and make recommendations for the appropriate funding levels for the contact hour, core, and student success funding. That was charge 1. Charge 2, study and make recommendations for the appropriate funding levels for the operations support and space support formulas for the state colleges. Charge 3, study and make recommendations for the appropriate funding level for and the refinement of the Texas State Technical College System's return value funding formula. And then charge 4, institute a formula process for the committee to recommend critical fields of inclusion or removal for success points based on the best available data and trends about regional and state workforce needs. Using this formula methodology and most recently available data development recommendations for 2 sets of fields to the coordinating board. 1 set of fields recommended for the addition to the critical fields list, and 1 set recommended for removal from the critical fields list. And then charge 5, study and make recommendations on the inclusion of qualified non-credit workforce continuing education courses in student success point measures, implications to existing formula methodologies, and as needed recommendations on any associate data reported enrollments and funding levels. Those are our 5 charges. I'm heavily involved in the last 2, charge 4 and 5, and look, what we're trying to do with charge 4, we've taken a different approach, and that is we've taken a look at using the Texas Workforce Commission's field of critical fields and stack those up. There are 10 regions in the state, designated regions. And so what we've done is taken a look at all of those fields to see which 25 fit into all of our 10. And I'm oversimplifying this formula, so it's more complicated than what I'm telling you. But the idea is that we have things that we do here, and we train here in Central Texas that we can't, that aren't done in Dallas, or Dallas has things they do that aren't here, or Houston has things that they train for that we don't have here. They have a lot of industry and so forth. So in looking at all of those, we are trying to come up with a matrix, which we have come up with, based upon some rationale and some common sense as to how to change those and how to do it every year, not every 2 years, because we are getting funding from what happened 2 years ago. So the funding, the enrollment levels, if we increase them now, the things we're training for now, they aren't even being captured right now. So we got to wait for another year before they're captured. So there's a lot of changes that we're trying to make, and I guess my whole point for all this is to let you know that we are analyzing and looking at all of our programs of study to make sure that they are viable, they are needed, they're relevant, and so and moving forward, we will move slowly as these two committees finally come to conclusion on what they're going to do. I guess the best thing is, will this commission that was formed, Commission on Community College Finance, whatever their findings are they going to do something about it? Are they going to implement something? Because right now, all the colleges that testified, and there were 12 yesterday, have the same issues. Excuse me, low enrollments, not enough funding, and so forth. And so we're all kind of in the same boat. Our enrollments are up a little bit, so, and I think Bob will cover that when he gives his report, but I just wanted to let you know that we are monitoring all this and taking care of business. So if anybody has any questions.
I don't have any question, but that's a lot to digest, and so if you'll punch us along as we go over the coming weeks, get us involved and make us do something to help.
Yeah. Yes, sir. As these materialize, I will report back to what the findings are and where we're going. Thank you. Okay. I guess it's pictures. Dr. Ady.
All right, so what you see is the BPOC Alpha graduating class, a picture of the BPOC Alpha graduating class. That's the Night Police Academy that graduated last week. So mostly we have unsponsored students, and that academy, since it's at night and part-time, is 10 months long. We also had the graduation for the BPOC Delta graduating class, so we had 11 cadets in there. That's our daytime cohort, and that is 5 months long. And so we are anticipating somewhat larger cohorts starting in January. So we already have students enrolling in those. All right, so Justice of the Peace Bill Prize swore in cadets from the BPOC Delta graduating class immediately after graduation. And you see here a picture of Andrew Bosques, Pamela Mura, and Eliza Neely. And they are all working now for the Coppers Cove Police Department. All right, on December 1st at lunchtime, we had the CTC choir and also the band give a concert here on campus in a gazebo. And so that was for our students and our employees to enjoy. And Miss Michelle Palmer, as you see on the left in the left picture, she's an adjunct professor, and she was instrumental in making that happen. And as you know, we do that several times throughout the year, in the spring and the fall as well. And we had great weather too. All right. What you see here on the slide is the final exams for the Cake Decorating 2 class. The class is offered as part of our hospitality program. And we had, let's see, it was a Disney-themed cake that students had to bake and decorate. And the winners were the Mad Hatter, Mulan, and the Little Mermaid. So on the left side, you see a student that didn't win, but again, very elaborate. She had a Cinderella theme. So very talented students, and then afterwards the cakes were cut up after the judging. The judging was done by Lily Halaby from the Harker Heights Bakery, and she's also the Food Network star, so she helped us with that. All right, Eagle Trot took place on December 3rd. On Friday, we had 17 runners that participated in this year's Eagle Trot, so it's a 5K walk and run, and all of them completed and received T-shirts in the end. All right, and then we had a farewell for Jane Anderson and for Kirsten Brooks, so thank you to all of you who were able to come. Jane is retiring at the end of this month with 41 years of service and as the Dean of Instruction, and Kirsten is retiring as the Associate Dean of Instruction with 30 years of service. So again, thank you for the ones who came, and that also happened to be the first day that the new Dean of Instruction started, Dr. Daniel Fisher, and so it was certainly a farewell for them, but a lot of our faculty had an opportunity to meet him as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Barb Merlo.
Again, I'm a stand-in for Dr. Garrett, but this event is actually kind of personal to me. We've been doing an event called Geek Fest. We changed the name to EGX. And the last time we were planning to do it was in the spring of 2020, so that event did not take place. Apparently, we have fans out there that were really anxious for us to do something, and we tried a Harry Potter-themed event. Normally around here, people don't do things very far in advance. We had to cut off ticket sales the Sunday after Thanksgiving break, which was a week away from the event. We'd already sold 320 wristbands. So it was wonderful, and honestly, we do all this with volunteers from the community, and most of this was planned by 2 volunteers. So if you know or see Lisa Youngblood from the Harker Heights Library, she's a big part, and also Maureen Houston, who is a volunteer from Copper's Cove. She just retired from Defense Contracting Authority. So we had a Yule Ball. People learned to waltz. We did lots of crafts and activities for kids, and we found a special Star Talk called The Skies Over Hogwarts that was completely full the first time and almost full the second time. So it was a very successful event. I think we even made a little bit of money for the foundation. So.
I had a chance to run into Ms. Merlo the other day, and I told her what I thought was very good ads that we've had on TV, and I was wanting to tell Chancellor that, and I don't know what kind of results we'll get, but I think their attention's getting in, and so I think it'll be helpful.
Thank you, Don.
That it?
That's it, sir.
Okay. And the next item we have is swearing in of the campus police officer, so Chief Barrington and the candidate will meet me at the podium up here. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the police officer,
the duties of the police officer
Central Texas College District,
of Central Texas College District,
State of Texas,
in the state of Texas,
and with the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the constitutional laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
promulgated by
promulgated by
the CTC Board of Trustees.
the CTC Board of Trustees.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All signed and sealed. Again, we're glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Peace be with you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You know, it seems as if I'm doing a lot of talking today, but that's my nature, I guess. But I think it must be said often how much we appreciate and love our police officers, because they, a lot of times, go without being said how much we appreciate them. And so I wanted to say that, and I think the entire board feels that way, as well as this community.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider approval of the October 2021 interfinancial statements and investments report. Mr. Liberty?
Thank you, sir. You should have a copy of these. You know, October is a couple of months ago, so first of all, you only have 2 months' worth of a financial statement, so there's hard to pick any real information out of 2 months. And at the same time, we were spending the vast majority of our time making sure we could get the audit complete. So did not spend as much time on these financials as we normally would, but there's still some information I think is kind of important to point out. You know, I've talked to you many times before about deferred revenue, unearned revenue from one year to the next when you compare them. And if you look at the current year, you can notice that it's significantly lower than it was at the same time last year. And when you look at that, that tells you your upcoming future revenue that you're aware of is down significantly. But there's some good points to point out in that. I know it sounds weird for me to tell you how far down we are, but as remember, this is October's financial statements. At this point in time, at the 31st of October, our spring enrollments, which are the enrollments that start in January, were down 22%. As of this morning, they're down 1.8%. So that's a significant jump from then to now. And to look even farther, when you go back, the audit that was presented to you earlier today, 2020 to 2021 enrollments were down 17.8%. Fall enrollments at the start of this year were down 13% from the year before. So that's already an improvement on the 17.8. And our spring enrollments to date are down 1.8%. So I'm not going to tell you that we've climbed back to the mountaintop, but it sounds like the dip is ending and maybe we're ready to bounce our way back up. And it goes along with what the chancellor was saying earlier in his report, that, you know, we talked about it the other day, we need to figure out what's normal before we can determine what we need to do. And, you know, the state and federal government both have done a lot of things to provide funding for us, and some of that funding, they had no idea what they were doing with us, and they sent us money, but we didn't have the opportunity to spend it under the conditions that they set aside, and we had to send it back. And the last thing we want to do here is to make changes to some of the things that we do here because they're knee-jerk reactions when we don't know what normal is yet. So maybe based upon what I just shared with you, we're going to work our way out of normal, and we'll be back on path to where we can start getting back to doing the things that we've done, and our numbers can start leveling out where we can get a better idea of where we really are. So comparing October to October, if you look at the bottom line, we're $100,000 plus less than what we were a year ago, but it's still a positive bottom line. And based upon these numbers where we see where the enrollments are going, it only looks that we will start to work our way back up. So if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Any questions of Mr. Liberty? I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
The motion been made and seconded to approve the interim financial statement for October 2021. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is discuss and consider approval of the annual financial report and report to the Board of Trustees as prepared by the independent audit firm of Lott, Vernon and Company, P.C. for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2021. Mr. Liberty?
Yes, sir. Mr. Legg presented earlier at the workshop the audited financial report. Don, you were the only trustee that's here now that wasn't there, so I'll share with you real briefly the most important thing. It was an unqualified opinion, which means it was a clean audit. There were no findings and no question cost. So anytime we can say that, that's good news. There's really not much I think I need to discuss about it any further because Mr. Legg did a great job of pointing all that information out. So the only thing I'd like to do is, if you give me a few seconds, I just want to share thanks to all the people that were involved in that. You know, you see Mr. Legg up here, you see me up here, you know, Doug's at every meeting, and you guys know how much Doug does for this, and we rely upon Doug and to make sure we get this out. But I have a staff of 35 to 40 people that they're the ones who are doing these transactions all day, every day. They're following the rules and the procedures that we've put in place, and they're the ones that make these numbers as clean as they are. They're the ones that are making sure when the entries are made that they're done correctly, they're done within the rules. So you get to see me up here. You know Doug and you know Dane, and Dane's got a staff that spends a lot of time working it on his end, and there's a big staff on our side that works these numbers all year. I'd be remiss to thank them, and I want to name three of them because they work directly for me. Sherry Pollitt, Marcus Gonzalez, and Kelly Holman work directly for me, and each of them play a huge part in getting this audit done correctly and on time, and I just wanted to say their names out loud. I got a lot of other folks, and if I started naming names, I'd miss somebody, so three that work directly for me is the right one. And then as a reminder, and all of you guys know it, and we say it every time, but the role that Doug plays is so critical, because not only does he do stuff to help me put this report together, but there's a lot of stuff that Doug does on behalf of the auditors that doesn't require them to do as much detailed work because Doug's already done it. And we see that come in to benefit us every time we go on a new bid, because they're able to keep our prices lower because of all the work that Doug does. And I can tell you right now, I know I couldn't get it done without Doug. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. And then if there's any questions back to the actual audit itself, either myself or Mr. Legg could answer any of those.
Any questions of Mr. Liberty?
Move we approve the annual financial report.
Second.
And the motion been made and seconded to approve the annual financial report and report to the Board of Trustees. Any discussion on that motion?
I'd
Yes,
just
sir.
like to reiterate what Bob said about all the folks that helped him, but I also want to point out Bob does a great job too. So thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider the offer by the Texas Land Estate LLC to purchase 5.4 acres, parcel ID 18929 of Central Texas College property. Mr. Harmson?
Yes, good afternoon. The college has received an offer to purchase 5.4 acres of property, which is adjacent to parking lot G, which is right behind or catty corner to the large sign, the Central Texas College sign off of I-14, just east of lot G. The offer amount was $38,829.87. I had, in the packet, had given some background information on some additional properties that are for sale along Clear Creek Road. And at this point, the administration recommends that the college not sell the requested parcel. I can answer any questions if you have them.
Are there any questions of Mr. Harmsen? Now I entertain a motion.
I so moved that we deny the request.
Okay, motion been made to reject the request for the sale of the property. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion to reject the offer, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is recommend any topic for upcoming agenda items or announcements by the board members. We'll start with Mr. Armstrong.
No, thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say, it's been an interesting year. I'm looking forward to 2022, and we get 2021 behind us after all the trials and tribulations we've had, and I think it's appropriate for the board to express the thanks and gratitude to the staff and faculty of this institution for taking care of the students in a really rough year in 2020 and maybe even a rougher year in 2021. But the financial statements and the hard work is paying off. And Mr. Chancellor, you guys have done a super job. And I think we appreciate it, and I think the taxpayers of the district appreciate it. Next item is announcement of time and location of the board workshop and schedule for Tuesday, January the 18th, 2022 at 1 p.m. and the board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January the 25th, 2022 at 1 p.m. I'd like to invite the Chancellor, Dr. Carter, and Ms. Jordan to meet the board for an executive session. We're temporarily recessed for an executive session.
what you had to do, you created something. My father and stuff was around the house, George Stopper, and, late since I had my daughter took one, that I didn't realize, I had created some stuff, I didn't realize that I had. And she put it up on Facebook, whatever, she messaged me, and she showed, she said, Dad, you remember this? You know, all of that stuff, also, fire, Perry, they're great. California. She got pretty good. Anything I can do for you? They gave us pretty good money and everything.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I just saw you.
But they paid them pretty good for that. Yeah, she lost a lot of folks, and did y'all give her a good going away? I told her I stopped by and talked to Jane. So Jane, I figured you would be up here too. I said, Cliff might not be at the thing, because we got the workshop and the board. She had that plan. I was telling one guy, the coach made a lot of mistakes. Because I was kicking the field goal like they said, and they came back, and they did the offside kick, and they recovered the offside kick. But you'd have had more time on the clock if there was an issue. I thought that was a pretty good game in the game between the Bucks and the Beatles. You know, they have a good team. I just think the plays are called at a certain time for the Beatles. They have come a long way. They have come a long way. I was surprised how long Jim Kelly stayed out there, and then OJ stayed out there for a while, and even went to San Francisco. Like he ended up in San Francisco. But you're right. They had a heck of a team when Kelly was there. You had Bruce there, and you had Thomas, the running back. They were a team that they were making it to the Super Bowl, and I think they were going to win. And he never won. Never won. Yeah. Yeah, they did. It was three Sunday, and then that made the fourth one. Well, you could say the same week, because Monday Night Football is the same week when we started the third. But Dallas, the other team, I said when I watched Dallas, because my partner, that was his team. I mean, he had this curve, he ordered, paid $1,500 for the old seat, the old cardboard, the old stadium. And he had those in the back, he just was a Dallas fan, so since he passed away, I just started watching him more and more, but they're not consistent. And I was telling somebody, they have a 24-point lead, and they didn't score anything in the third quarter. They didn't score anything in the third quarter. And so then Washington started throwing their way back. So, I'm glad to see Stafford's not good. Yeah, I'll give it a first shot. Okay. And breathing from Austin area. Okay. Yeah, Megatron, that was his go-to man, Megatron. He got into this, but he had injuries, and that's basically what all of them, they got those injuries like that. Yeah, Megatron, I'll tell you what else. Yeah.
One of them, I about to get buried. I paid him $20 but he's my lead.
He made it in, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he made it in. If you need, I got it.
Oh, he learned it from his dad and stuff.
They're out of control, huh? Waiting for Mr. Beebe.
The regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Central Texas College District will be convened at this time. We have a recommendation for a budget transfer as a result of the executive session. Mr. Beebe, will you read the motion?
Motion is to amend the budget as the court.
Second. Oh, excuse me, Charles, that's. No, you're fine.
The motion been made and seconded for a budget amendment. Is there any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. If there's no other business for the good of the college, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas and Happy
See
New
y'all
Year.
next year, so anxious
Yes.
to get out here.